Hi guys, it's Jackie Grant, We Grant Fitness and Health, and this is the Change and Grow Wellness Show. The show for you, the busy professional who wants to live a healthier, happier life with increased energy and productivity. This show is powered by the amazing men and women of Positive Program. And tonight we're going to talk about the simple way to bring meditation into your life. Our guest tonight is Joie Kya, and she is a spiritual leader and a leadership development coach. And her passion is to help others discover their passion. So, welcome,
Thank
Joy.
you so much, Jackie. Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, Joy, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to be doing what you're doing.
Yes, be happy to. Well, I am like a lot of stories out there. I started in corporate America, was in leadership, developing teams, building programs to train and do all those wonderful things for the corporate world. And in 2011, I just knew I needed a change. And so I decided to venture out and do my own thing. And I had always had a spiritual practice using meditation as a foundation. So that's where I began. I started teaching meditation classes, and then that became more of like a mentorship with one on one clients. And long story short, I started bringing my leadership aspects from my previous life in corporate America into that and blended this soulful leadership revolution of sorts, trying to help leaders be spiritually focused and grounded in their own life so they can make the greatest impact.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yes.
So, Joy, tell us a little bit about meditation. Where does it originate? Where did it
Yeah.
start?
Well, it's been around forever. Most origins will point towards India. And so a lot of our gurus and our different philosophers are based in Eastern religions, and meditation is really yoga. And that's one of the important pieces I think to remember. When I first learned meditation, my guru was calling it yoga. So imagine my confusion when yoga places started popping up everywhere. I was so confused. I thought everyone was doing breath work and meditating.
Mm,
And then I found out they were moving their bodies, and I was like, oh, okay. But meditation is definitely founded in spiritual practice and in the concept of mindfulness, right? Like being still with oneself. So, yeah.
yeah. So, what is the difference between meditation and mindfulness? Because it seems that meditation's been around, mindfulness came along. You know, what is the difference between them?
Such a great point. And I think you're definitely right. I think mindfulness came along for us to understand meditation on a more basic level. So, meditation is, I guess the best way to explain it for me is mindfulness is really about stilling the mind, being focused on your breath, and just allowing your thoughts to be aware, right? Aware of the body, aware of the breathing in and out. And it's always a very subtle approach to meditation. It's a great introduction to meditation. And then meditation itself is an extension of the mindfulness state. So you could be looking at, 5 minutes of mindfulness, and then you could begin to meditate from there. Meditation is always going to be a deeper awareness. Also, you're looking at a longer period of time. And then there are things like visualizing in meditation, doing guided meditations, things of that nature that can expand the experience. And you
Mm,
can heal with that. And that's where you kind of get into like that hypnotherapy concept as well. So, hypnotherapy is like, a sister or a brother of meditation too. So, we have a really beautiful scope that we can look at, but meditation is always going to be a little bit longer, and you're going to experience a bit of different visualizations or just a inner peace feeling. Where mindfulness, you're just really stilling the mind and giving yourself a pause for a few moments before you get back to your day.
okay.
Yeah.
So, is it best to start with mindfulness then before
I
meditation?
Yes, Jackie, I'm a huge advocate of start with mindfulness, because it is like building a muscle. It's going to take time to become comfortable with it and feel a little bit more like you're ready to grow and expand and do it for longer periods of time. So starting with mindfulness is always a great gateway.
Okay, brilliant. Okay. So I know that some people have asked me around, they find it difficult to concentrate. They really find it difficult to, clear the mind and, just kind of empty the mind, empty the voices that come in. What kind of tips and strategies do you think that you could tell people to start off with, really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great question. So, one of the biggest things is to be patient with yourself. And if you think of it this way, your mind is consciously aware of your meditative state. It's kind of like when we're drifting off to sleep at night, our conscious mind checks out, right? It goes into a rest state. So
Mm,
when we are in mindfulness or in meditation practice, our conscious mind is now aware and awake and active and part of the experience. So think of it this way, think of it like a muscle. So to really tone a muscle, we have to do repetition.
mm,
So when you're trying to get the concentration down, be patient with yourself and know that you're growing a muscle. That's like the number one
mm,
rule of thought that I like to put out there and instill. So if you could just keep that in mind, and then continue the more often you do it, right? Repetition is key. So continue to
mm,
repeat. So if you are just starting out, you may say, okay, I'm going to meditate twice a week. And then maybe do that for 2 weeks. And then the third week, do it 3 times a week, that kind of thing. And start to build that muscle. You're going to notice that the mind is going to start to still and be able to
mm,
focus more. And I call it monkey mind, where you kind of move from branch to branch, thought to thought. And the more you meditate, the easier it is to start to center the mind and focus on
mm,
what we're doing versus on what we're going to make for dinner, or what else we have to get done on our to-do list. Okay. So that's probably the number one thing. And then as far as clearing the mind, I do recommend the breath work. I feel like breath work, what it does is it allows you to focus on something because you're focusing on
mm.
breathing in and out versus just sitting there waiting for something to happen and you're not sure what that something is. I think that's probably the most frustrating thing. So, starting with breath work, again, building that muscle is going to be the most essential, in my opinion, the most essential way to go about it, to help build that and be able to clear the clutter. And also remember that when you're meditating, that's the whole point, is to clear the mind, right? So clearing the clutter is part of the process. It's almost like when
Mm,
you want to go through your closet and get rid of the old clothes. Well, we're going into the closet of our mind and we're allowing ourselves to clear the clutter one by one. So things that have been stressing you out or a worry that's been on your mind, that stuff's going to come up, and it should. So recognizing it and going, "Oh yeah, I'm totally having this thought around this thing that's, I guess, been on the back of my mind for days, and now it's
yeah,
coming up in my meditation." It's completely normal. And I feel like that's probably the biggest piece of it. I think we are in the belief that we're somehow doing it wrong, but really we're
yeah,
doing it right. So allow that
yeah.
to happen. Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So would you say, in terms of starting off, is it best to go to a class, or is it best to try an app, or is it best to try something on YouTube? What would you say would be the best way to start?
Such great questions. There are some really great meditation apps out there. I know Insight is one that has been a favorite with some of my clients. So maybe you guys can check that one out. But I am not a huge fan of hopping on YouTube. Uh, Only challenge with YouTube, you'll have some amazing meditations, and then you'll have ones that never quite go anywhere, or they derail midway, and then you're kind of left frustrated. And so for
Mm,
someone who's just trying to start a practice, I really recommend going to a source that feels, like, at least have a referral, or, find out from a friend, do some research, look at the top ones that are out there, but try to find a teacher or a program that is structured in some way that can help you start from beginner to, working through into, like, improving your skill. And
mm,
now, with that said, I'm going to make sure that you guys get free meditations here too. So we'll make sure you guys get the hookup. But I definitely would do your best to get in with some kind of guided meditation And, yoga, I have to say, there's a lot of great yoga teachers out there, and they will start the meditation or end the, or close, or not, start their yoga or end their yoga, right,
Yeah.
with meditation. And that is a great way to start as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Great. So, what are the key benefits that people are going to start to see in terms of improvements, and like, how long is that going to take?
Great question. So it depends what's happening in your life. Sometimes we reach out for a mindfulness or meditation practice when we have high levels of stress and we know we've got to do something different, right? Just like when we decide to hire a health coach, right? Our health might be at risk. We have no energy. So oftentimes, same thing with meditation, we really feel the need because we feel some distress within our body or in our mind. And with that said, it's going to determine based on the individual, how quick you'll see the benefit. But let's talk about, and I would say anywhere from like 2 to 3 weeks, you'll start seeing a difference, but just based on the individual. Okay. The beautiful thing about this though, too, is once you start a meditation practice and you start to really attune to allowing your mind to do this, your mind does remember. So let's say you start meditating and you do it consistently for about 3 months, and then you totally just stop doing it because we do that. And then a year from now
Yeah.
you start doing it again. It'll actually your mind's going to remember. So that's a really cool thing I wanted to let you guys know. So no stress if you start and then you derail and then you start again. That's totally okay. And I think you're still training your mind. It's still improving and helping you. Okay, but with that said, let's talk about some of the great benefits. One of my favorite benefits is it reduces stress. We all have plenty of
Mm,
that in our lives, right? And what it does for most people is it gives you objectivity. So you may be dealing with a situation that feels intense. Well, like we talked about, our mind will wander towards some of those things, and we're able to
mm,
almost zoom out and look at that situation from a higher perspective. It's like our highest self can all of a sudden look at
mm.
that, and we're not in that chaos. We can
Yeah.
look at it and be like, wow, okay, I don't have to, you know, react to the situation. I can walk through it differently. So it's going to decrease stress completely. It does
Mm,
also have health benefits. I know a lot of research has been done around that, and I don't have specific stats for you, but there's a ton of research. I mean, you could, like the Mayo Clinic and there's been a lot of different Harvard studies and things like that. So there's a lot of research out there if you want to Google it on the different health benefits. But I know for sure, of course, the stress level, everyone knows that stress is a huge thing on health. Okay, so that one. And then the next thing that I really love is productivity. So we actually are more productive in our day to day when we're meditating. And you would not think
mm,
that's the case, but I am more productive. I get more done, and I'm less likely to be distracted by everything, all the fray in our lives. I'm less likely to be distracted. So, with that, meditation is going to make you a more productive individual and less stress. So, overall, you're going to be happier and just have a sense of fulfillment, which is great.
great. So, Joy, what is the best time of day to do it? Is it morning? Is it evening?
Yeah.
When is the best time?
That's such a great question. I do get asked that one a lot. It really, it's an independent decision, truly.
Mm,
I have my favorite. My favorite's in the morning. And I think I've already kind of noted why. I can look at when I wake up, I'm fresh, I'm alert, and studies say we are most effective the first 3 hours that we're awake every day. So if I'm the most effective those first 3 hours, it's like I'm priming my brain to be completely sharp and focused. And like we said, productivity is a benefit. So
mm,
imagine it's like superpowering. It's like putting, really great fuel in your vehicle. You're gonna get further, and it's going to be more efficient. So I recommend morning meditation. Even 5 minutes of mindfulness practice is going to make a huge difference in your life.
mm. Okay,
Mhm.
brilliant. So, you said about using breath work
Yes.
in your meditation. So, I'm assuming in terms of the breath work, that's kind of calming you down. Then it gives you something to focus on.
Yes.
Um, what about doing affirmations at the time? At the time of doing meditation, does that work as well, or?
Yes, great question. I love that one. Absolutely. As you're building a meditation practice, especially from the beginning stage, right? So we would mostly want you to start with breath work, and then you can start adding extra things, affirmations or mantras, things that just lift you up, and a
Mm,
reminder, right, of your focus for the day, or that you are going to be effective and efficient, or that you love your body. I mean, there's so many benefits that you can apply in
mm,
affirmation and meditation. So absolutely 110%. And what I love about that is you can have an affirmation, and maybe you have a sticky note and you stick it in your daily planner or somewhere where you're going to see it, and you can have that affirmation with you throughout the day. And whenever you say
mm,
that affirmation, you're going to remember that nice moment that you had at the start of your
mm,
day. It just
mm.
continues to ground and center you. So I always love the application of affirmation, and it's a great way to end your mindfulness or meditation set, for sure.
Great, great.
Mhm.
Thanks, Joy. So, Joy, what's your final thoughts and final, inspiration for people starting their meditation practice?
Ah, yes. Well, I think there's a couple of things. So, one of the things that I would love to touch on is, how do we meditate, right? And I talked about the breath work, I talked about the difference of mindfulness and meditation, but you don't have to sit on a pillow in a dark room with a candle lit. Meditation can be done while you're on a nice walk. It could be done on a park bench. It could be done in your cubicle at work. Like, I think what's so important to recognize is that there's no real rules anymore. And
Mm,
there's even, the concept of journaling or using a notebook to write out your thoughts and allowing that to be meditative. So, meditation is expanding and changing, and we're recognizing the true benefit is in just becoming aware of your thoughts and becoming aware of your breath and recognizing that you're in the moment versus thinking about what has happened and what will happen. We're focused on what is happening in
mm,
that kind of practice. And so it really just becomes about awareness and just allowing yourself to be open to what comes in front of you, and then to be curious at what you're experiencing. So I've had some really fun experiences, and just going on little walks with my dog and just feeling very inspired. You know, I guess, looking at nature as a reflection of life, and you start to see things differently, right? All of a sudden a tree just means
mm,
something different when you allow yourself to be mindful. And so it's just kind of playing around with that and recognizing there's no set rule anymore, that meditation is not just sitting down on a pillow. It's not always going to a yoga class. It is really about how you determine it's going to be. And the very last thing I want to touch on is, people ask me all the time, how do I know if I'm doing it right? The answer really is, you kind of don't. You just
yeah.
have to start day one and work through that mental clutter that's going to show up, and know that you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing it exactly as your mind and your experience needs to be. It's just a matter of, we all have a start point, and then we all have, a direction to move forward. And I think guidance, and having a mentor, someone like myself, or finding someone that you trust, is really helpful. And it doesn't have to be, a ton of your time. It can be very, very simple, but it starts with 5 minutes a day.
That's brilliant, Joy.
Yes.
Because people really do think that you've got to sit there like, in an upright chair and that's the
Yeah.
way you have to do it.
Yes.
So that's really useful for people to know that you can do walking meditation, you can do journaling.
Hmm.
It gives everyone a kind of a different way to bring it into their life. So thank you very much for that.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Joy, where can people find you? What are your website, everything like that? Just name
Sure.
that out for us.
Beautiful. Well, it's under Joie Kya. So I'm under joiekya.com. That's JoieKya.com. And I'm under Joie Kya on Instagram, Facebook. You can kind of find me everywhere. And I'm also on SoundCloud. And there's 6 to 8 free meditations. You guys can start listening right away. There's one on mindfulness, and there is one that I specially created for you guys called Love Our Body. So we'll make sure you guys have access to all of that. That's all there on SoundCloud for you. And on my website as well, I do have a starter program for it's a 30-day meditation challenge. So when you're on the site, maybe that's something that sparks an interest for you. You can look into that as well.
Brilliant. And is
Yes.
that 3-day challenge free? Yeah.
The 30-day challenge, it's a small fee, but it's a great beginner course. And then the SoundCloud has all the free meditations.
Okay, brilliant.
Yes.
So you covered my final question, which was it, have you got any freebies? So that's really brilliant.
Lots of freebies. Absolutely. Yes. No, I want you guys to feel like you have a starting point and, just somewhere to begin. And every meditation that's there is meant for the beginner and maybe like the beginner who is now moving forward. And you'll kind of see by how long the meditations are. So start with the shortest ones and then move your way up to the longer ones. I think there's one up to 20 minutes on there. So it's not for everybody, but 5 to 10 minutes is a great starting point for anyone.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Joy, for being on today. So it's been really interesting learning, just some simple practical strategies that we can put in place in terms of, bringing in mindfulness, meditation, the benefits of it, are just key, especially when we're talking about productivity and stress levels, because we're all rushing about all the time, and we just need to stop and give ourselves that time to focus and to concentrate on ourselves and give ourselves that little benefit of clarity. So thank you, Joy, and it's been amazing. So guys, we'll be back next week with someone else new to talk about different things. It just depends what I feel like next week. And so, yeah, it's been great. So
thank you.
Take care, and we'll see you soon.